Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. And I am back, folks, with someone that is true and dear to my heart, a good friend, would even consider him family. Someone that has been on a lot of journeys with me through Double Barrel Gaming. You know him as Zemi Games. He has a big announcement coming at the end of the show. Zemi, how you feeling, brother? And welcome back.
I'm back. I'm here.
Yes, you.
I'm ready. It's been so long. It really it hasn't been like that long because I did come back for like a very, very short, like 2, 3, maybe 5 minute segment
Yes.
during one of your previous shows this
Yes.
year. But like that wasn't, I'm not gonna count that. I was here for like 5 minutes and then I left to go eat dinner. So but no, I'm back for a full show right now. I'm super excited. Boom. Can't wait to get started, man. And thank you so much for the invite, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's great to sit down with you. We're going to be talking about our most anticipated RPG of 2023 on the second half of the show. Our most anticipated of an unannounced or announced but not released or has a release date RPG for 2024 and beyond. And of course, we're going to be talking about the snafu or the fiasco that is the PlayStation VR 2.0. Unfortunately, yeah, folks, it's not doing good. It is just not doing good. I knew that there was going to be a problem when up until the day of release, you could go to your favorite store, even the PlayStation store for that matter, and pre-order it or purchase it to have it delivered that day. I knew there was going to be an issue. But you know what? What I want to do first, before we even get into that, is one of the things, Semi, that I find enjoyable and fascinating and incredibly privileged is when I interact with people on social media. And sometimes it's not the greatest. For the most part, I've had a pretty good experience. Being as transparent as I am. Where I came from, my family, what I did previously before becoming a content creator. Um, and sometimes those experiences, they're not so great. People leave some nasty messages, but for the most part, I don't get those. I'm very happy about that. But I do get a lot of interaction. And there's one particular person I want to shout out, and that's Zatanna Bathory. She reached out to me yesterday and she DM'd me with a fantastic idea. And I kind of want to touch on it before we get into the PSVR 2 fiasco. And she had made a suggestion that, she is a big fan of Xbox Game Pass because of the affordability and because of the amount of games that you get for your money. And she had made mention of, a possibility, Zemi, of Game Pass potentially offering an older but AAA game being added to the service on a monthly basis. And I think she might be onto something because, like, for instance, a game like Dead Island 2. Now, that game is phenomenal. I don't know if you would play it. You wouldn't play it certainly alone. If we played it
No.
as a pair,
Yeah.
you would probably play through it because we would have each other's back and it'd be more fun to hear you yell as you've
I'd
done
have
in many
I'd have
games
the
that we've
emotional support. Yeah,
you'd
100%.
have the emotional support.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But she made a suggestion that for Ultimate Game Pass subscribers, one of these big AAA games would be added or to potentially to a list that you could pick. I think that she's onto something, not so much with the picking, because that leaves room for too many games to,
Hmm.
they would have to pay for, and it would just go on. What happens if one gets picked 1,000 times and another one gets picked 2 times? Does the developer make any money? But I do like the ideology of potentially having, because again, Game Pass is known for dropping tons and tons of titles in, but games like specifically Dead Island 2 really, even though it's a single player game, Emmy, do live in the multiplayer now. And it's a game that we haven't heard much about. What are your thoughts on, potentially these multiplayer focused games being added to the already abundance of titles?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a fan of it. I want it to happen, right? Like I don't want to, pay $60-$70 for games. I want to just play them straight out of Game Pass, right? Like that's the joy of being subscribed to it. And we have seen some games, third party games launch into Game Pass day and date. For instance, I'm a massive strategy fan. Crusader Kings 3 is a game that launched on PC, and at that same time, it also launched into Xbox Game Pass for PC. Did Outriders, did that come to Game Pass?
That came to Game Pass day and date, and for Square
Day and
Enix,
date.
who again
Yeah.
seems to have forgotten Xbox existed, did bank numbers for them.
But so we have seen Xbox do that type of thing. I think it would be awesome if we could see them do something like that with Dead Island 2. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I think that maybe they would have already announced it by now, but then again, E3 is just kind of right around the road. But doesn't Dead Island come out this April? I think, right? When is that launch?
Which game?
Dead Island 2. Isn't that
Dead Island 2,
about?
I'm pretty sure is soon. I think it is April, and that game looks.
I think it is April.
You know something? Let me tell you something. That's a fantastic pick. It's a smaller game. The game has been in development hell for 7 years, 8 years. I have a funny feeling that game is going to be one of those cult classics that is going to hit. I think what you're putting down, I'm definitely buying, because a game like that had a huge amount of delays would be perfect for Game Pass.
Yeah. And then also like the whole idea of like letting the player pick, I kind of like that, because that brings like an interactivity to Game Pass, where people can interact and specifically choose this game above this game kind of thing. I think that's really that's a very cool idea, very cool concept. I don't know if it would actually really work that well. It may, leave a lot of gamers feeling like regret for choosing this game and not this game. And one cool thing about Game Pass
I can attest to that, because let's tell a quick story there, Zemi Games. Let's tell everyone what now and again, if we weren't brothers, I would actually be potentially offended, because it sounds like he's giving me a dig, folks. Let me tell you what happened. This is a funny story. Zemi Games presented to me a choice.
Yeah.
And it's a gift, because he said, "Hey, Boom, listen, I got 2 codes that I'm supposed to give away. I got a code for myself, but they said, hey, content creator, here's 2 codes for 2 different games. Give the ones away you want to whoever you want. We just want people playing our game." And I picked and refresh my memory, because it was the one. It was tell the story.
So I gave you 2 code options, right? Because I got a bunch of codes from the dev, the developers. So I got a bunch of codes for A Plague Tale and Innocence, right?
Yep.
Which is a fantastic game. Okay. And then I got a bunch of codes for Sniper Elite V2, which is like the remastered of Sniper Elite 2.
Right.
And I go to Boom. I'm like, "Hey, Boom, which one do you want?" And he chooses, of course, Sniper Elite V2 instead of A Plague Tale, which later on he made the discovery that he done messed up.
I did.
Yeah.
And it's funny, folks. Zemi tried to save me from myself. Before I jumped out the window, he grabbed my arm and said, "Boom, are you sure you want to do this?"
Yes.
And I said, "Well, of course. It's Sniper Elite V2 and this Plague's Tale. I don't even know what that game's about."
Yeah,
so
not a great decision.
There you go, folks. A boob-like decision by Mr. BoomStick XL.
But so right there, that's a perfect example why letting the player potentially choose what special game out of like these 2 games or these 3 games or even these 4 games they actually want, and then the other ones don't have access to, or something like that, like a level of interactivity. But one negative of that is, one great thing about Game Pass is that it allows friends to play together, right, without having to go out and buy the same $70 game, right? So Game Pass has opened up so much playability for friends that all subscribe to the service. And so once again, if you have that interactivity where you can choose, pick and choose what specific games you want, or so on and so forth, one friend may choose this game, one friend may choose the other game. Now you guys can't play together. So I like the idea of being able to maybe pick and choose which games in Game Pass, you specifically want to play, like, and which ones kind of get blocked out. But
Yeah.
I think that there would just be too many negatives to that at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I think there would be some people like, hey, I chose this game. It would it would be a PR nightmare. I think personally, I like the ideology behind it. I do like the idea of potentially getting some smaller AAA games or AA games that may have
Yeah.
gone the way of the dodo, because there's just too much to play right now. If a game doesn't really grab you, it goes into the mysterious backlog that now for me is probably is taller than I am, and I'm 6 feet, folks. So it's pretty high. But listen, again, if you have an idea, folks, for a topic that isn't ABK or newest game Sony, newest game Xbox, and you want me to talk about it, DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. It's at Mr. BoomStick XL. And we'll try and incorporate as many as we can into the live shows, because I love the interaction, with everyone. And shout out to Bethany for the really cool conversation piece. But I want to move this along, Zemi Games, because I am a VR fan. I have been since the Virtual Boy, which was freaking awful and nearly blinded me. Okay. After watching Ready Player One, that's what I want in real life. After watching, Star Trek Next Generation, we all want the holodeck in our life, right? To run around in a cube and just have all of this virtual reality around us. And that's probably 100 years away, if not more. And we're not going to be around to, unfortunately, enjoy it, because we'll be gone. But PlayStation VR 1 came out for the PlayStation 4, and I was hooked. One of the first games that I popped in outside of the demo disc was, of course, Arkham, the Batman game, which was phenomenal. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And for the first year of PlayStation VR, it was supported. It was in the talk of the town. People couldn't release enough games for it. Sony was in full support of it. I was having a blast, but I was using it a few times a week. And then, after the first year and, the glamour is away, Sony does what Sony does. And they start to pull back support, and you don't get any real AAA, the first party developed stuff there. And eventually there were games coming out, and there were some that were good, but there were some that were just awful. So we fast forward to 2023. And the PlayStation VR 2.0. Now, again, this is a very expensive unit. $500 for the unit without a game, and $550 with the Horizon, first party game. And after it's all said and done, after tax, for the one that comes with, the Horizon game, it's over $600, which is more than the PlayStation, no, it'd be actually equal. That's right, because they raised it $50, so it would be as equal as the unit that you need to run it. Now, you can't use it on PC. It's literally for the PlayStation 5 only. And, for a lot of people, that's a no-go. It's a no-sale. For me, what made me not buy a PlayStation VR 2.0, besides the price, was the fact that I had over 20 physical games, and I had about 15 or 17 digital games for the PlayStation VR 1, the original, and none of them were backwards compatible. None of them I could use. So if Sony doesn't, consider me important as a customer, then I'm not going to buy their hardware, because like I suspect, this is a failure for them. And why is it a failure? Well, I have a story in front of me pulled from Bloomberg.com. And it was written by Takashi Mokazuki. And he is, if you want to know who he is, well, he is a reporter for Bloomberg. He's according to his Twitter profile, He's a reporter on Game and Tech. He works at Bloomberg. That has been confirmed. And he's an amateur stockpiler, whatever that means. I guess he did that for fun. Currently has almost 35,000 followers. So the guy apparently is not only knowledgeable, but he does have people that believe what he's talking about. Well, folks, he did a report. He wrote the story, but he also tweeted about it, and I'm here to talk about it because it's concerning Zemi Games. And before I get into the numbers, which are abysmal, considering how many PlayStation 5s are in the wild. A couple of years ago, and I want to say maybe during the Xbox One generation, Phil Spencer wanted to get into VR. And the reason why VR never came to the Xbox One, I'm sure power was a problem with it, but there was something about having wires connected to the headset. He came out and he said, "Hey, listen, we're not happy where the technology is. Maybe we'll come back at some point and we'll do something in the future." And that never transpired. The original report where they were considering VR. Well, obviously they never went forward with it, and people called Phil Spencer, "Oh, he lied. He made promises he didn't keep." Folks, what I found very suspicious about a lot of the people that were complaining about, Phil Spencer lied about VR, is the fact that probably none of these complainers bought a Kinect or shunned or joked about Xbox with the Kinect. And the Kinect, Kinect One, great. Kinect on Xbox One, not so much. Didn't do really good. So before we get into why Phil Spencer was right, I want to break down some numbers for you, Zemi. Now, according to Takashi, and this is an exclusive from Bloomberg, Sony's PlayStation VR 2.0 is not doing well. IDC's, let's see who this person is. Francisco Genermo. He is a VP and data analyst who he's quoted in bringing these numbers ahead. Expects the sales of Sony's new PlayStation VR unit to barely hit 270,000 units by the end of March, meaning that they're not even there yet. This is what the predicted number is. And he goes on to say, I suspect a price cut on the PlayStation VR 2 will be needed to avoid complete disaster. Zemi, this is crazy because if you remember the original report, which I'll pull in a second, Sony had forecasted that they were going to sell 2 million units. And I'm going to get that again, get the particulars on that. Is this another bad investment for SIE?
I'm going to be honest. Obviously, I think Sony made some mistakes, like not allowing backwards compatibility. What are you thinking? Releasing this in February? What are you thinking? Right? Charging, basically the same amount of money that you charge for your high-end console. Like, what are you thinking? Like, I just think that there is a lot of mistakes. I mean, just touching base on the first one, February launch, to me, that just doesn't make any sense, right? Because you're basically launching this $500 headset right after the holiday season when all of your customers just got done paying a lot of, $70 for your games, right? Or dropping $500 for your console and so on and so forth. I just think it's really bad timing to come out with a headset. Of course, the whole backwards compatibility issue, that doesn't really help. I don't know if that's really causing a lot of people to not, jump on board with this, because I just, to me, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm right here, I don't know, but it just doesn't really seem to me that Sony players, at least as a whole, care about backwards compatibility to the same level that PC players and Xbox players do. I could be mistaken with that, but and then, of course, you're looking like, let's look at the competition, Meta Quest 2. I understand that the PSVR 2 is basically like a next gen, like the new generation of VR headsets. Meta Quest 2 is kind of like older tech. But even still, look at the price point, right? You can go and buy, I think the cheapest Meta Quest 2 is like $300, and you don't need a console. You can actually just play it like with the headset. You can hook it up to your computer.
Yep.
So just, competitively speaking, I just don't really see like a whole lot of value into PlayStation VR. Do they have a lot of exclusive content for this headset yet? I'm not sure. What I will say is I think sales are really bad now. I think if they drop the price a little bit, and whenever we get closer to holiday season, if they ramp up, and spend, some good money on, promotions, YouTube advertisements, and so on and so forth, I think that we could see them bounce back from this. I think a big problem is timing. Honestly, I just think releasing this thing in February is just a dumb mistake, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're onto something. I think it's a questionable move. Again, I could not find the actual development dollars that they spent in investment. I know who's heavily into VR and might be able to find this. Who's listening right now? And it's Kay Asante. Kay, if you happen to come across the data of how much money they invested in the development of PlayStation VR 2.0, drop it into the chat, because I look, one of their big first party games, which was a launch title, it's another telling of the story for Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn, and it was expected to do gangbuster numbers because, quite frankly, Horizon is one of my favorite new IPs for Sony. I like Aloy a lot. I think she has a significant amount of potential. I didn't like 2 as much as I loved 1. But people like ACG who reviewed it said that 2 things that jumped off the page on his review. 1, it was not a good Horizon game. And secondly, not even a good VR game, which is concerning. Now, again, this is what you have to ask yourself, Zemi, is yes, it is a first party game, but considering that it flopped, and it's only, I mean, technically that sales numbers of whatever it's going to be is going to be people who bought it with the unit. Now there are going to be people who bought it, just for the PlayStation VR itself, and maybe bought the game separately. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe that's what they did. It's not going to sell well, and here is why there's even more room for concern, because I just did the updated graphic number for PlayStation 5. Folks, they are selling at a rate that eclipses anything that they've done before. February was a ridiculous month for them. In fact, I think it's coming in and it's being reported that it's the best PlayStation console month in the history of the brand. Think about that for a hot second. PlayStation 1 through 5. 5 comes out and is available pretty much here, there, and everywhere. And it sells more units in February than any February previous for any other PlayStation. That is amazing. But Zemi Games, if the report stands true and they only move 270,000 units of PlayStation VR 2.0, would you like to know what that percentage would be versus the confirmed 32 million PlayStation 5s?
What's the percentage?
Well, it's less than half a percent.
That's not good.
No, it's not, because it is. I mean, think about it. If there's 32 million units for the PlayStation 5 that are out in the wild, and they only sold 270,000 units of PlayStation VR, which need the PlayStation 5 in order to run the $600 unit, that's not good math. So yes, I would imagine that there is going to be a drop in price. For me, I only jump in if I can get it for $300 with the game. If I can get it for $299, then I jump in. Maybe I spend the $300 to see what the hype is all about, which I'd be punching myself in the face literally, because I know what's going to happen. Sony's going to stop supporting it like they always do. But I love VR. I'd love to get involved. So I want to kind of just shift this to Xbox, which is why everyone is here, which is the Xbox, kind of a podcast, Xvlog Live. Zemi, the question I want to pose to you, and I want to pose to the chat: was Phil Spencer right to nix any development of VR technology for Xbox, and potentially move those development dollars to first party and even possibly acquisitions.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. Look, I don't think Xbox needs to get into the business of making VR headsets and doing all of that type of stuff. I mean, during the 360 generation, we saw them do something kind of similar with the Kinect. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people didn't like it. Either way, in the Xbox One generation, they continued that trend, and it ended up not really working for them, and they ended up quitting it. You know what I mean? Um, and I think VR to that point, if Xbox made their own headset, did all of that, would kind of result in the same thing. I think the best way of getting VR onto an Xbox console is, basically just through software, just making sure that headsets like the MetaQuest, and I think Vive is another brand of like VR headsets, are
Vive
compatible
is
with
very
Xbox.
expensive. That's a very expensive one. Yeah, that's one. There's a
Yeah.
couple of them that are upwards of $1,000.
Yeah, but I think just making sure that the hardware that other companies are making is compatible with the Xbox, and then allowing, and supporting developers who are making VR content, kind of the way that they currently do with ID at Xbox. Xbox supports indie developers, kind of do the same thing with VR developers and support it. That way we can get the games on the system and allow the games to be played by supported headsets. I think that would be a better decision long run if they ever want to get VR onto the platform, rather
Yeah.
than going and spending a lot of money researching and developing, creating your own headset, launching it, distributing it, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. Cost a lot of money. There's a lot of risk. Xbox, historically speaking, has not really done very well whenever they focused on, that type of more like niche, I guess, gameplay methods. So yeah, I think Xbox made definitely made a really good decision. Phil Spencer definitely made a really good decision in pulling back from the VR thing. Way back in the day, as you mentioned, he did, talk about adding VR to the consoles. His big, problem back then was the wires. And
Yep.
then of course VR headsets came out without the wires. He still, didn't want to push it out. I think Xbox definitely, looked and they saw something that they didn't like, something that made them uncomfortable, and they rather
Yep.
put, that money towards acquiring other studios, building up Game Pass, and so on and so forth, which I think was a better decision. And hopefully, if they ever add it in the future, they they just support the headsets that are already out there.
Correct.
Let
Yes.
Facebook do all the research and development, and
Yep.
push out the headset. Let them do all of that work. You just make sure that it's compatible with your system, and that there's games out there, for people in your system to play if they want to go that route.
Yeah, I like that idea. Just like third-party controllers, have that little
Yep.
seal that says, supported by Xbox. It's an Xbox official product, and that could work for the Vive. That could potentially work for the MetaQuest, which I have. I have the MetaQuest 2. The MetaQuest 3 is probably going to come out probably next year, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to jump in on that one. Again, I have it. I enjoy it. I really love Beat Saber. It's one of those games that no matter what kind of day you're having, you get into it and you hope that you just have fun, and I love it. But I
And the
actually agree with Phil Spencer on this, and you made mention of something that I, as the host, didn't even consider. So thank you for
Mhm.
the save, brother. You mentioned Xbox Game Pass, and I think anyone that's in the chat, and let's see, I'm going back and forth with stories. We have over 500 people here, which is bonkers. This is a show that I wasn't sure I was going to do good numbers, because if when no one wants to listen, then why do the shows? I was actually going to sunset this show back in the middle of last year, because sometimes you do things they don't hit, and apparently you folks like it. So if you do like it, please hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, folks, I do this 5 days a week, 5 different panels, 5 different shows, and all great content. And you could be a part of that each and every week. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button and help us march towards 15K. That's the goal that Mrs. BoomStick and I have set forth. We're at 12. We're almost at 12.1, which is pretty crazy because we just hit 12. And we would love to hit that 15K by the end of 2023. But you mentioned Game Pass. And
Mhm.
I think that most of the 500 people that are here would rather see dollars instead of being wasted, which is what I think it is, which is happening with VR. It's at this point millions and millions of dollars. I'd rather see that money invested in Xbox Game Pass content, games like Dead Island 2. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? To get in there, or pick your favorite flavor that you'd like to see come to Xbox Game Pass. I'd rather see Microsoft give the money to that publisher slash developer to get the game in rather than waste it on VR that is going to be considered niche. But you know
Yes.
something, to drive the point home before we get talking about the RPGs section of today's show, which I can't wait to get into. I pulled a Game Informer story from October 19th of 2021, and Zemi, it's titled, "Don't Expect Xbox VR," as Microsoft's Phil Spencer says Xbox is focused on software. And this is going back a couple of years ago because obviously we are in 2023. But this is the
Mhm.
quote from Phil Spencer. He says, "I think that the hardware innovation that's happening is great and it's an important enabler. But right now, I'm deciding to stay more in the software side of that enablement." And he said this during a Wall Street Journal Tech Live event. And this was reported originally by Video Games Chronicle. He says, "I believe it will scale better in the long run." And he goes on to say, "We're going to stay as a company right now in the consumer space focused on software. And I think that's a good bet." And you know something? After these numbers, Zemi Games, I think he bet the right way.
Yeah.
And listen, again, at the end of the day, these development costs to make these headsets are millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And you said something pretty interesting that you said that Microsoft might have looked forward and saw something that were a little skittish about. And I
Yeah.
think ultimately when you look at the PlayStation VR, which by the way is an incredible piece of tech. The
Mhm.
amount of it is expensive, but the tech that's in there is phenomenal. The problem is I don't trust Sony. They get involved in these things. They put a piece of hardware outside of an actual PlayStation unit. Anything that they have done prior, PSP, the other handheld, PlayStation VR, they support it for the first year, and after that, they do this. No first
Yeah.
party. You know what I'm saying? Because they see that the investment wasn't worth it, and the numbers scream not worth it. If only 270,000 people bought your $500 plus VR unit, and there are currently 32 million PlayStation 5s in the wild worldwide, and that number is expected to grow maybe 10%, maybe 20% of that by the end by the end of the fiscal year. It's just not a good bet. Anything you'd like to say closing with what Phil Spencer had to say on not specifically sticking with the software rather than
Yeah.
developing a new piece of hardware?
I mean, I just think it's like in times like these, we have to remember what is Microsoft. Microsoft is a software
Software
company.
company, yeah,
It makes the most sense for them to focus on software and ultimately just lets other people focus on hardware. And whenever thinking back to those words, I think honestly, if we ever saw VR on an Xbox, I do not think Xbox would be making their own headset.
yeah,
Just from that statement, we're going to
yep,
let other people focus on the hardware. We're going to focus on the software, right?
yeah,
And in a large way, I think that that's actually more beneficial to Xbox because Xbox, even since the the dark ages of the Xbox One, they've made massive transitions, and one of the biggest things is choice. Xbox wants players to have choice. And
yep,
what better way of giving them choice in VR than just supporting all of the VR headsets on their platform and letting whatever headset you want to go out and buy and then play on your Xbox with it. Like
yeah.
that just screams to me ultimate choice. And I think that that would be like the best way to go for sure.
I agree. I think player choice is key. I think that development dollars could be better, spent on potentially, which we know that is in development. We just don't know when we're going to get it. And that is, an Xbox Elite 3.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it has a share button somewhere in there because as much as I love my Halo Elite button, it is really a pain in the rear to take a picture, to record video.
That's an oversight for sure, isn't it?
It is an oversight. I mean, again, I have the Master Chief special edition one. I mean, I even have the Gears of War one, which is worth a lot of money. The right button is a little jacked up, but it still looks brand new. So I just put it on the shelf as display. It's gorgeous. They need to revamp the Elite controller, but that's going to be a topic for another day. We're going to get into the RPGs, but before we get there, Zemi Games, I gotta talk and say thank you to all the super chats. And my God, there's been so many of them. First of all, the first one of the day comes the way of Paul Drew. Now, he drops a 10-pound super chat, and that is amazing. But it's what he says that gives me goosebumps as a content creator, because, like I said, it's very easy to be negative. For some people, it's very difficult to be positive. And he says something very nice, which is awesome. He says, Boom, thank you for all that you do for the community. I love listening to you and your amazing panels while I'm at work. You're an asset to the community. Dude, that is worth its weight in gold. That is very kind of you to say. I truly appreciate the high praise. I love doing this. I could talk video games 7 days a week, and I usually do. When I'm not in front of the camera, I'm playing games at Mrs. Boom. We're doing our 5th run through Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance on Extreme, and the game is hard, but we're having fun with it. And thank you for the generous super chat, but of course, thank you for the comment. We also have Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program. He drops a 2-pound super chat. It says, everyone, please hit that like button. Yes, hit the like. The likes do help more than you know. Sith Lord drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Zemi, good to see you. We need back to school 2. Ooh, I like that. That is awesome. Back to School 1. If you didn't know, Zemi Games made a game. That's right. It's a really, really cool brain game that actually lets you know how dumb you really are. Because it is
that's a great way of putting it. It really is.
It has grades 1 through 5. And I think it's like a $5 game. You can play it on Xbox right now. You can play it on Steam. Back to School. Yeah, he made a game, folks, and it's actually really, really good. It's a lot of fun. But Raiden Blade drops not 1, not 2, folks, but 3 super chats in a row. And the first one, he says, I just want to point out, Connect outsold all VR. Yeah, it actually did, believe it or not. And that's a 2-pound super chat from Raiden Blade. He drops an additional 5-pound super chat and says, what Sony should have done was release PlayStation VR 2 with and alongside Spider-Man 2. Have Spider-Man PlayStation VR 2 game wasted time and money on Call of the Mountain. Yeah, Call of the Mountain, which is Horizon's side game for PlayStation VR, was not reviewed very well. And he drops an additional 2-pound super chat and says, Boom, what made the push in February sales was Hogwarts. Yeah, Hogwarts is, and again, it's one of those things. I love what Xbox is doing, and you can't argue the path that they have chosen. But I think that when you don't try and not get console exclusive, but when you try and you get you work with a WB on a game, and that game, even though it's not an exclusive, is attached to your box like PlayStation did, and PlayStation continues to do. Hogwarts was such a hit and still is selling gangbuster numbers. I mean, it's not being talked about as much as it was before, except for a good friend of the program, the Black Harry Potter, who continues to tout it is his game of the year. And I don't blame you, brother. It's currently my game of the year. There's no doubt about it.
We're also going to see a massive sales increase for that game, because we all have to remember that it's only out for PC and next-gen consoles. It's not available for the Xbox One. It's not available for the PlayStation 4 yet. I think it comes out.
The Switch too. Switch, believe it or not, it's coming out for the Switch. Holy crap! I can't believe it.
Yeah. So it's going to launch for all of the old consoles that still have a huge player base, like early on in April. So we're going to see a massive spike. So we haven't even seen all the sales numbers yet.
Yeah, it's a
hit. Sold 12 million units, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
Warner Brothers best
selling game in years. Game. Yeah,
I think historically, honestly, I think is what I read.
Well, there you go, folks. That's why, and you know, again, when you have the marketing rights for an IP that is in the zeitgeist of the community, and the Wizarding World, yes, it did have its controversy. Yes, the author did said some things that people didn't agree with, but you can't take away from what Avalanche has done for that game, and having um PlayStation as you know there as you know, hey, you got an exclusive quest, which not that big of a deal. I don't like it, but who cares? It's big and it's sold gangbuster numbers. I again, I had people to actually tell me, what are you playing right now, Boom? Oh, I'm playing Hogwarts. I'm like 4 days in. I'm loving it. Oh, so you really like your PlayStation 5? I'm like, no, I'm playing it on the Xbox. Oh no, it's PlayStation exclusive. See, those marketing rights, folks. Those marketing rights to the normies, they, you know, they work. Shout out to Judzilla Music. Just a very generous £5 super chat says, "Great to catch you live. PlayStation VR 2 is great tech to save it, make it PC compatible." Yeah, that's a good idea. If they made it PC compatible, that could potentially move the could shift it. But Zemi Games, we got to talk. We got to talk RPGs, and there's a specific reason. There's a specific reason why we're going to talk RPGs for the next half hour or so. But we'll talk about that on the back end. 2023 for RPGs is loaded, but I think for you and for me personally, there really is only one RPG that's not Hogwarts. I understand, you are. He's a huge Harry Potter fan. He's read the books 17,000 times.
A lot.
It's Starfield. And it is God Howard's
praise be his name.
It's God Howard's dream that he has been imagining for 2.5 decades. It is going to be the first new IP from Bethesda in a very, very long time. Obviously this game has come under fire for its delays, and and listen, delays happen. A lot of people, like, they don't want, they call it the Bugthesda, because when these games come out, there are a lot of bugs in there and some wacky things. I gotta tell you though, Zemi, that last trailer where, obviously they announced that it's not coming out until the end of the, to the holiday season. That last trailer was just wow. I mean,
sexy.
Yeah, sexy to say the least. So I mean, obviously we're talking Xbox RPGs. We're talking about Xbox exclusive RPGs. The big one is Starfield. I want to get your hot take on how big that game is going to be in 2023. But I also want to have a little fun with the chat, have a little fun with you. And I want to talk about the potential RPGs that are coming out in the future. You have Avowed that we know of. We have Fable that is being made right now as we speak. There's another, game, Compulsion Games. Their titles is rumored to be a fantasy type game. So we don't know. They compared it to, BioShock meets Uncharted in a fantasy realm. So we're going to say fantasy. So maybe it's an RPG. We don't know because we haven't seen it yet. And obviously the Elder Scrolls 6, the next Fallout. So listen, if you are a Western RPG fan and you are a fan of Xbox, you're going to be eating good for many, many years to come. But let's talk about Starfield. And we haven't had really a chance to sit down and get your hot take on the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, look, Starfield is going to be absolutely amazing, right? It's going to be a phenomenal game. I think for most people this year, Starfield is going to be their game of the year. Hogwarts Legacy is an amazing game, absolutely amazing game. I don't think it's going to really touch what Starfield is going to be able to do. Diablo 4, that's coming out as well, right? And that's kind of,
I was just going to say that too. Max in the chat mentioned that. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, that game is huge. I played the beta. It's absolutely fantastic. So many people are going to play that. So many people are going to enjoy it. But I think for the mass majority of just like RPG fanatics or Western RPG fanatics, Starfield is going to be the one. And for instance, Hogwarts Legacy, like they're already dropping, like their player base is already dropping. A big reason why is no post content, right? And then also the game is fantastic, but there's definitely a stopping point for everyone, right? Bethesda games doesn't really have that same stopping point, right? The game gets continually supported by the community with mods, by the developer, with actual DLC. But not just that, the funny thing about Bethesda RPGs is that, it's just evergreen. It just continues to live on and on and on and on. Players are always finding new things. Even in Skyrim, there's still news articles that come out to this day where a journalist just found, this new quest, or this new piece of lore that was just hidden and tucked away in Skyrim. So just for that reason, it's just, for some reason, Bethesda RPGs just seem to last and live on kind of just forever, right? And I think that's going to be a big contributor as to why this game is going to be so successful. I mean, plus it's a space RPG. As I have said previous times before, and I'll say it again, it's going to be like Outer Worlds on steroids is basically what
Yes.
it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't wait, man. Seeing the trailer, 60 frames per 60 FPS, that was really, really exciting. I think that the game's still going to come out and there's still going to be plenty of bugs. Like
I'm sure, I mean,
it's a
considering the
Bethesda
size of
thing.
how big the world is going to be, because remember, you're
Yeah.
talking planet after planet after planet. I'm sure there's going to be a bug, right? Games
Bugs.
have
It's
bugs,
going to be
or
plural, but it's Bethesda. Boom. I think Xbox's biggest thing though is, you know, they, Halo dropped. Was it a great game? Yeah. But there was a lot of negativity around it as well, with, no forge mode, no co-op, so on and so forth, right? Xbox just wants to release a banger. That's what they want to do. They just want to release a banger. And I think that they want Starfield to look as good as it possibly can for the Xbox console, right? And I think that that's a big reason why they delayed it. I think that there's still going to be plenty of bugs though, which I'm kind of excited about because I kind of like, Bethesda bugs and their games.
I mean, listen, it's the charm, right? Some people are like it's the charm of Bethesda.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
you know, I know that you are hoping and praying to God Howard, as you do,
Hmm. Yeah.
that there is a collector's edition that comes with some sort of a space helmet that you could possibly wear. I have all the Bethesda stuff. I have the Doom
Yeah.
collector's edition with the helmet. I got the Fallout 76. And again, I bought Fallout 76 not even for the game. I bought it for the I bought it for the helmet, and the game was just awful. And the game is good now. Obviously, it's really good now, but still, I'm just not an MMO kind of a guy.
Mhm.
And look, and what's funny? We left off the table. Speaking of Bethesda,
Mhm.
Elder Scrolls Online continues to really
Oh
bring in the
yeah.
numbers. That is a game that they have continued to support, and they're supporting it not only on PC but on PlayStation as well. And that's never going to go away. Fallout 76 is another RPG that you can jump into right now, where it plays more like a Fallout, but it's an MMO.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I stayed away from Elder Scrolls, and I'm a huge like Oblivion fan. Like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that's but besides it being famous for its horse armor, which is the first DLC of all time, which I bought, I stood in line, and was like, I want that freaking horse armor. I don't care how much it is. It's you can play the game in single by yourself if that's what you're into, which I'm a single player kind of a guy.
Mhm.
But you know what? Let me catch up on a few super chats that popped in
Go
here.
for it.
And let me see. Yeah, Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and says Diablo 4 is about to sell Xbox like crazy. Let's go. Indeed, it is. That is going to be. I am hoping, folks, that this ABK deal gets wrapped up soon before the release, because obviously, you have E3 coming in the middle between the 11th and the 16th of June. Diablo 4 is getting incredible buzz, and it's launching. I'm almost positive that it's the 6th. It would be pretty cool, and I said this on many shows before, Zemi. I would love Microsoft to take the momentum of announcing to the world, hey, everyone, it's available on PC, it's available on the PlayStation 5, but if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, it's in there day and date. And if they could do that, if they could figure that out and get that into Xbox Game Pass day and date, and then take that monster momentum and go into E3, man, that would be something. I mean, if anyone is listening from marketing, I just gave you $1 million idea and potentially a promotion. You don't have to say the Boom said it. It's fine. Everyone that's listening, we have almost 600 people here. You'll back me up and say, no, Boom said that. Take it and run with it. It's okay, young person.
I'll tell you the real shame. Doesn't Diablo drops on the 6th, right?
Yes.
6th?
Yeah.
The real shame of it is that Xbox can't go on stage during their showcase, before E3 this year and say on stage, oh yeah, this little game called Diablo 4, it's in Game Pass day and date. Say it right there on stage. Like, because the timing doesn't match up, that's just a shame.
That is the shame of it. Yeah, that is the shame, because the deal is going to go through from all the new information that we got. So the deal is going through. Yes, it has still some regulatory reviews and things of that nature. I think it's all schematics at this point. The deal is pretty much done. But yeah, it would if the game would have come out the week of E3 and you get up on stage and you're like, hey everyone, this is what you've been waiting for, and everyone goes crazy. Because listen, I don't know. I mean, Mrs. Boom and I played for 3 hours. We both got to level 8. We didn't like it. We did not like Diablo 4 because it played too much like 2. Wasn't a fan of 2. We loved 3, and there was a lot of things changed. So we're gonna again, when it goes into Xbox Game Pass, folks, we're gonna give it the old college effort and try it again. I didn't know you can move the camera a little bit closer. See, there's things I didn't know. It's like it's too far out. I mean, they look like M&Ms on my 65-inch beautiful TV here. I don't like that. I don't want to play with M&Ms. I want to play with a character that I can see. I wear glasses, for crying out loud. So, so there is that. But I do. Let me see. Oh, here. Okay, that's Raiden Blade. He drops an wow, Raiden Blade. Thank you so much for the generosity, bro. That's really kind of you. He drops an additional £2 super chat and says, I only see Diablo 4 ads with Xbox, no PlayStation 5 sticker, as it should be. And I'm going to get salty. I don't care. They continue to do stuff like that. We just talked about it. People thought that Hogwarts was an exclusive. That's because of the masters of marketing over at Sony. They know what they're doing over there. I like what he's putting down. So what? Listen, if you want to know if it goes on PlayStation, go look it up yourself. I'm not telling you nothing. And I'm sorry. That's being petty. I'm sorry. I get petty every now and again. Jonas,
that's just Xbox playing the game, right?
Yes.
That's just Xbox competing,
playing the game, however you want to put it. Absolutely. Good friend of the program, Jonas the Dad. What's going on, Jonas? How you feeling, brother? He drops a $2 super chat and says, eating good in Game Pass hood, and it's only March. Oh yeah, it's been a great year. And if you want to know more, and I know he's listening, Retri, I love you, brother. Nicest bald head in content creation, next to Zemi Games, that is. Go check out Game Pass _daily. He just put up some content the other day. Great stuff. And obviously he's a part of the Xbox Factor podcast on Tuesdays. So definitely go check him out. And let's see. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody else. I saw a couple come in. Yeah, here we go. Dreadful Sean. Hey, Sean, what's going on, brother? How you feeling? He drops a $5 super chat and says, I took a week off for a vacation after Starfield drops to spend all week playing it. Hashtag no shame. Good on you, man. Good on you. That's awesome. I love it.
That's dedication. Love
yes. Buck. Sorry about that. For the cough. Buck drops a $5 super chat and says, assuming $450 unit PR PlayStation VR cost to Sony to make, then is cost to Sony $900 million to make 2 million PlayStation VR units. Another $500 million for marketing, R&D. Sony could lose $300 million. You know what? I didn't even put all those numbers together, Buck, and thank you for that. Because if they lose that kind of money, ouch. I mean, don't get me wrong. The PlayStation 5 is selling, folks, it's selling better than any PlayStation before it. And that's saying something considering they sold almost 117 million PlayStation 4s. And they're expecting that the PlayStation 5 is going to eclipse that. Those are crazy numbers. So they're going to make money. But yeah, this might have been a bad investment. There's just no doubt about it. We also have, let's see, make sure I didn't miss anybody because I get really disappointed with myself when I do. Okay, that's it. We're up to date. So, Zemi, I want to move the conversation along to RPG, Xbox first party RPG of the future. And I want to bring the near 600 people we have here in on the conversation. Do me a favor, throw your pick into the chat of what is your most anticipated RPG, first party Xbox RPG coming out in the next couple of years. And I'm going to go first. For me personally, it's a real hard toss up between Fable by Playground Games and Avowed by Obsidian. Like it's hard, but I'm going to have to pick the favorite son here, and it's going to be Fable. It's going to be Fable because I'm an OG, and I will never forget the first time I got jumped by 3 werewolves in Fable 1 and then electrocuted the shit out of them with my magic. And it's times like that that made me the gamer that I am today. Zemi Games, for you, what I mean, because I know where you're going to go because you want a chest behind you with coins. Thousands of these coins from where are they from? What are these coins even called?
They're from the Imperial Mint. they're septums. Man, look, okay, I am a massive Elder Scrolls fan. So if I picked anything else other than Elder Scrolls 6,
you will hate yourself,
right? I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight, you know. And I would feel like I was betraying my Lord and Savior Todd Howard. And you know, we can't have that. So, you know, obviously my pick is the Elder Scrolls 6, right? I'm such a huge fan of that series, that franchise. I can't even possibly think of a universe, an alternate reality where I would pick anything else, right? With that being said, though, Fable is an awesome pick. I'll tell you actually one thing that has me so much more excited about Fable than I was before. Because, you know, whenever you hear that Playground Games is making it, like there's some real confidence to that. But you also have to remember they make racing games, right? So then in the back of my mind, it's always been, are they going to be able to do this? Well, Avalanche, before making Hogwarts Legacy, you know what game they made? Cars 3 for Disney. And then they just knocked out a fantastic RPG, right? So that gives me so much more faith because, you know, there's some similarities with Playground Games. You know, the last game that they made was racing, and now they're making a actual, you know, third person role playing game, that being Fable. So I'm really, really excited for Fable. Man, Avowed, I think, is going to be a really, really good game. I don't think it's going to be Elder Scrolls. You know, I mean,
it is Obsidian, though. I mean,
yeah,
you know, they've done some really good stuff.
They do, but you know, Bethesda's Bethesda. You know, I don't know. I'm a fan. I'm a huge Bethesda fanboy. I'm sorry, it's toxic. I know, but yeah, man. I mean, and you know, of course, Starfield. I mean, my most anticipated for this year, of course, would probably be Starfield. However, there is that new Cyberpunk DLC that's coming out that not a lot of people are talking about, but that is coming out this year, and that's going to be really exciting. But for sure, Elder Scrolls. What's the chat saying though?
The chat is saying Elder Scrolls 6 for the win. Most people,
so
Leonard Herrera, good friend of the program, says Starfield. Wolf 17 says Starfield. However, I would pick all of them. Justin says Jedi Survivor.
That's the best answer. All of them. All of the above.
Jason B says Fable because it's third person. Billis 98 says Fable. Suicide Kings. What's up, brother? How you feeling? He says Elder Scrolls 6. Drone Dude says Final Fantasy 7 RE.
Okay.
Listen, brother, he's a joke, but I like what he's putting down there. Let's see what other people are saying here. OCD Gamer, good friend of the program, says Elder Scrolls. Ray Oid says hit the like button. Indeed, please listen to Ray Oid and hit that like button. Let's see. Yeah, Suicide Kings would love a New Vegas remake. Oh my God, yeah, so would I. Scottish Smurf says Elder Scrolls 6 probably coming out in like 2029, and he's not wrong. They need to beef up personnel. They need to dual
I think
develop.
2026.
I hope so, man.
Like 3 years. I think 3 years. Because like all of the changes to the engine have been made. I think that they're definitely going to use like the same engine that they're using for Starfield. I think that they're going to use for Elder Scrolls 6.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, the creation engine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think 2026 is where that's where I'm going to move my chips.
Okay, 2026 sounds fair.
On the roulette
sounds
wheel.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair. Real quick, Red Wolf in the chat. Red Wolf, welcome to the program, brother. He says Guerrilla Games made first person shooters, and of course he's talking about Killzone, which they did, and then came out with Horizon Zero Dawn. So I guess he's referring to the confidence that we should all have from Playground Games, who is known for Forza, which, by the way, the new DLC. Holy matrimony! It is amazing. I'm gonna record some footage this evening. Probably into the wee hours of the morning, which I shouldn't because I'm an old man, but I'm going to do it for you so I can have it for tomorrow's discussion on Breakfast with Boom. And Fuzzy Belvedere, who is, the creme de la creme of racing knowledge, is going to lead the conversation in what Playground Games has delivered in their new Rally DLC. But before we get to outros, before I run the commercial for the merch, and of course, if you're wondering what I'm drinking, it's not alcohol because I don't drink that. The hardest thing I drink is Dr. Pepper. I am drinking the tears of a subset of people who are just very disappointed and upset that Call of Duty is going to be first party. This sip is for you. Tasty. Very, very tasty. Yes, I do get scandalous every now and again for the most part. I don't engage in that kind of behavior, but it's fun. It's all for fun and games. Listen, Zemi, everyone knows you as the Constant Gamer. You have a YouTube channel that has seen incredible success. You do guides. You do instructional videos. You tell us how to reset an account. But your heart has always been in RPGs. You are the RPG expert of all of the content creators I know. And today we're going to announce, folks, that he's launching a new platform. That's right. He's launching a new YouTube channel that I'm going to ask him to throw into the chat so you can get over there and subscribe. And it's going to be a live show once a week dedicated to RPG, Western RPG talks. It's called RPG What on YouTube. It is amazing. He's teamed up with someone that I'm familiar with. I don't know personally yet, but Zemi Games, I want you to tell the people about your new venture. And this is pretty cool. Like we talked on the phone, I think you're coming in at a perfect time because, well, Starfield, and then, of course, Xbox first-party RPGs are going to take over the planet. Talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm actually just now posting a link to just go check out the channel if you guys want. The channel is RPG What. It is all about Western RPGs. So Skyrim, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Cyberpunk, Fallout, Avowed, all of those games, Diablo, any Western RPG that you can think of, we are eventually going to be talking about. And one thing that I'm really, really, really excited about, because I've kind of always wanted to do this, is I'm launching my very own podcast that's going to be called the RPG What Podcast. And the same thing that rings true for the YouTube channel overall rings true to that podcast. The only thing that we're going to be talking about is Western RPGs. It's basically going to be a weekly show where we talk about, the latest and greatest news revolving around Western RPGs. But more importantly is every single show is basically a celebration of Western RPGs, how much we love them, and just different moments that we have experienced while playing them. It's going to be a really awesome show, very interactive. We're going to be talking to chat, so on and so forth. So if you guys like Western RPGs, definitely make sure to drop a subscribe on the channel and stay tuned for our podcast. We had plans of going live on the show today, later on at 7 p.m. However, that got canceled because of some technical difficulties with trying to live stream on YouTube. Apparently, you have to wait 24 hours from the time where you first try to go live. So because of that, we are going to be recording the podcast that's set to come out today and publishing it tomorrow, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. But going forward, after this week, every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern is going to be a new episode of the RPG What podcast. So if you like Western RPGs, definitely come by, say hi, and see what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Jason B in the chat had actually made mention of another Western RPG that may or may not be Xbox first party because, well, they're not first party yet, and that's IO Interactive's Project Dragon. So that's another one, and I'm sure, again, a couple of weeks ago on the Xbox 2 podcast with, of course, good friends of the program, Randall Thor and Jez Corden of Windows Central. Jez Corden says he's not sure if it originally was announced that it was going to be published by Microsoft. He's not sure anymore. Things might have changed. I hope that IO Interactive actually gets acquired by Microsoft, and that game is in fact first party. I think that would be amazing. Asobo's another one. Well, we'll have a podcast in the future of what happens after ABK, of who I think they should acquire, and it's going to be some smaller studios, but I think it could be some people that they're currently working with would be really, really big. Drone Dude is asking for the link once again. So, Zemi Games, drop that link in there so people can start subscribing.
Yeah. Oh, also the person in chat, his name's Red Wolf. If you guys have seen him bouncing around, he's actually my co-host for the RPG What podcast.
Hey, Red Wolf. Yeah. That's good. Excellent. That's good to know, brother. I got to follow him. I got to follow him on Twitter as well. But listen, let me so folks, listen, that's going to do it for today's show. Obviously, this is one of the smaller shows of the week. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself enough to hit the like button. If you're new and you enjoyed the banter and you enjoy how much fun that we do have on here, you could consider subscribing. And again, I do this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 5 different panels, lots of great content. I stay up to date with all the news. Yes, we do talk about games, but the news has been ABK and a few other things. Listen, if you are here for the first time and you are enjoying it, please consider subscribing. And also, real quick, I'm going to drop the link for the merch store. If you're interested in supporting the Double Barrel Gaming merch, check it out. It's in there right now, and I'm going to run the commercial that was made up by Sean Labrie to kind of put us on the map, so to speak. Here you go. Check it out. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was put together by Sean Labrie, who has officially finished up all his work on the channel. As you're going to start seeing the thumbnails and everything match together into one cohesive YouTube channel. And of course, I could not be happier with the work. But Zemi Games, let's get on out of here. Please sell your brand. Talk about RPG What, where they can find you on Twitter, potentially to strike up a conversation and maybe fund some questions towards you when you guys go live. Maybe you want to get the community involved in regards to what the topic of discussion is going to be, and where could people once again subscribe to your new YouTube channel. Talk about it.
No, absolutely. So once again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and post that link in the chat to go to our YouTube channel to subscribe and, check out some of the content that we're going to be putting out there. Once again, the show is going to be going live. Will be going live every Thursday at 7 p.m. The only exception is this Thursday. It's going to be a pre-recorded show that actually goes up onto the channel at 7 p.m. tomorrow on Friday. You guys, as always, can follow me at Zimmy Games on Twitter. Every single week, we're going to be posting a poll on there, an RPG, like a Western RPG inspired poll that we're going to be talking about the results and so on and so forth every single show. So right now, if you want to, you can go to my my Twitter account at Zimmy Games and vote on that poll.
Nice.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Boom, thank you so much, man, for inviting me onto your show. It's a pleasure, and hopefully I come back a lot sooner than what it's taken me.
I love it, brother. Yes, we're definitely going to have you back sooner than later. Real quick,
Yep.
Raiden Blade, once again, his generosity completely blows me away. He drops 2 additional £2 super chats. And the first one says, I pre-ordered the moment it appeared on the screen, £100. I believe he's talking about the Diablo, the deluxe edition. Yeah, I actually pre-ordered the same one, and then I canceled it because I didn't like the game. So, yeah, there's that. And Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat. My God, he said, I'm level 25 in Diablo 4, and I won another weekend of the beta. Yeah, a lot of people like that, brother. Like, people, I mean, really, really enjoyed it. And if you're curious what classes Mrs. Boom and I took, she took the sorcerer. She's a magic girl. That's her thing. And I took the barbarian. I probably should have picked someone else, but I kind of like the barbarian. There were a lot of things I really liked that we really liked, especially, the customization is bonkers good.
The Necro is so fun. The Necromancer.
The Necro, I heard,
fun.
is crazy good. Yeah, a lot of people are like, Boom, you got to try the Necro. That would probably be Mrs. Boom. She's more into the magic than I am. I'm just a barbarian. I'm sorry. What can I do? But ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. I hope you had a great time. I was laughing literally the whole show with Zemi. Hopefully you were having a good time as well.
Absolutely.
And of course, I want to thank everybody for the super chats. Again, we have spent a significant amount of money this year alone, not only in putting money aside for the 15 copies of Stalker 2 that we're giving away to support the dev when that game launches, but also all of the work that has gone into the channel with the commercial, trying to get the merch store. You got to reach out to artists that you trust. Obviously, we went to Sean Labrie, Ben Kenobi as well on Twitter, and the Richter, who actually originally made this for me as a gift, this design, and I wound up buying the design off of him so I can use it for merch because it's pretty freaking cool. And it costs money, and we can't do it without the help. So thank you so much for that. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.